What do you call a group of fish?
A school.
Today we're at a bootcamp that teaches you how to web develop, code, data science, and is creating a community full of creatives that would like to use these skills to create more value for society. Wagon. Wagon was a brand that was created in 2014, and since its inception, it has grown a community worldwide. And now we're in Shenzhen with the general manager, Alex, who's going to be giving us an insight of how they help people create value through coding, communities, branding, and how a brand can dominate the market or try and create more value for Chinese consumers. So we're giving air to the voice to Wagon, and like, subscribe, and stay tuned. All right.
Hi.
Hey man, how are you?
Good.
Could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. I am Alex. I'm the general manager of Wagon Shenzhen.
Okay. And what is Wagon?
Good question. So Wagon, in the most basic form, is a international coding bootcamp. And what that means is that a coding bootcamp is a place where we take creative people, generally people that do not have any technical background, but have some working experience, are interested in changing their careers. And within a short period of time, generally about 9 weeks, we teach these people to become web developers, product managers. Generally, we teach them technical skills like web development and data science.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why was it named Wagon?
Oh, that's a good question, man. So Wagon was actually here before I was here. So Wagon started back in 2014 in Paris, France. And since then, it has grown and expanded worldwide to over 40 different cities. I only started working with Wagon last year. So I've been with the company for 1 year. But before, when it started, the founders of Wagon, I think the idea was that back in 2014, there was this big craze about learning how to code, right?
Yeah.
And so we have a phrase in English, which is like jumping on the bandwagon. If you're jumping on the bandwagon, it means that you're kind of following other people and doing the thing that's popular in the time period, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's one way of thinking about it. Like, okay, well, you're jumping on the bandwagon because you also want to learn how to code, just like everybody else at this moment.
Yeah,
Another way to think about it is like, we're drivers of an experience, right? And the experience is learning how to code. And this is not a very easy thing to do. It's a journey, for sure, over the course of 9 weeks. And so we're the drivers of this wagon, and our students are the passengers of this wagon. And so we drive them along this journey to learn how to code and become more technical so that they become more successful in their careers.
Now, I'm sure you're familiar with the term branding, but branding involves different aspects. And if you'd like to build your brand from foundation to the top floor, just like a house, you need to know something fundamental called brand strategy. Brand strategy is a plan that encompasses long-term goals that help the evolution of your brand to engage with clients and eventually reach your vision. It involves strategic planning that's executed to figure out the needs of your clients, have a competitive advantage, and produce the work and products that you've always envisioned. Today, Alex is going to demonstrate how Wagon used the 7 components of brand strategy to pivot their brand during COVID-19. This shows how well executed their brand strategy was, and you learn how Wagon is defined by other competitors in the market.
What we do here in Shenzhen is that we change the course of people's lives. So our students, before they started working or learning with us, they were working as managers and as marketing managers or salespeople, or maybe they were graduate students, but they generally didn't like what they were doing, and so they decided that they needed a career change. And so the value that we provide at Wagon is we provide the capacity for them to be able to do that. So by learning technical skills like web development and data science, they're able to then change the course of what they were doing and change the course of their life by going into a more technical route. And of course we can get into why tech is necessarily learning how to code and learning more about tech, how that actually helps your life, but just simply enough, we provide value by helping people change their lives.
So first and foremost, I'd like to clear the misconceptions of what a brand is. A brand is not a logo or a website or anything that you use to put out in the marketplace. It's something that's intangible to your tribe. And in order to have this intangibility, you need to have 7 comprehensive components of a brand strategy. These 7 include a promise, flexibility, customer loyalty, consistency, customer involvement, and most of all, emotion. Alex from the Wagon demonstrates this through COVID. And in the video, he'll show how his brand was able to be flexible, loyal, and have a customer involvement. 3 aspects of the 7 components that he will eventually break down for us.
One of the biggest obstacles is localization, right?
Okay.
China is very different from the rest of the world in the sense that the digital ecosystem here is completely unique. So for example, the Wagon is all over the world, right? It's in Europe, it's in North America, it's in South America, it's in Singapore, Korea. And with these other countries, they can just go along with the traditional curriculum because there's not much difference between the digital ecosystem in these foreign countries and the digital ecosystem in China. Mm-hmm. But in China, it's completely different. So let me give you an example. And we teach a lot about Google Analytics, right? Whereas in China, you wouldn't teach about Google Analytics because it's not necessarily practical within the Chinese ecosystem.
Yeah.
You would be using more local tools.
Yeah.
So same thing, we also teach a lot about
WeChat.
Yeah, well, so that's part of localization, right?
Yeah.
So we've had to pivot a little bit in terms of what we teach and how we teach it to be more specific towards the Chinese market. So the biggest problem that we've had is that process of localization, but I also would say that that's also our biggest strength because we're so unique in the fact that we're an international company and that we teach our programs in English. It stands us apart from a lot of the competitors that are currently in the Chinese market.
How many brands have you developed? I mean, in terms of individuals, how many individuals have walked in here and just been able to build their brands?
Well, you know, I think every individual is building a brand personally, right?
Yeah.
Like you're building yourself, whether that be, you know, selling yourself to an employer, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to get a job, you have to present yourself as this individual that's able to add value to a company, right? So that's your quote unquote brand.
Yeah.
So in that sense, like how many students? Well, in China, we've had over 350 students over the last 3 years. So we've had a good amount of students come through and be able to build their own brands personally. And some of those students have also gone on to become entrepreneurs. A big part of our program is teaching people how to build applications and products. And so the process of building this product, they have to build this product's brand, they have to build this product's value, they have to understand who the audience is. And so they'll go on to actually turn those products into actual companies. So some of those, obviously besides the personal brand that they're building for the program, they're also building their own companies.
How different do you think branding is in China as compared to America?
I think at the core, it's not very different. I mean, at the core, you still have to understand the simple things about your brand, like what is the value that you're, you know, presenting to the world? What is the problems that you're trying to solve? You know, you have to have consistency amongst your brand in terms of, you know, from the more specific, like the colors and your logo and the way that you're presenting yourself to the public. So from those aspects, I don't think it's much different. But of course, I think when you're talking about more broadly, how is a brand seen in China than it is in the US? That's a tough question, man. Well, at the core, I don't think there's many big differences, but I think there are some individual differences regarding what the Chinese audience is attracted to rather than what the US audience is attracted to. And I can talk more in detail about web development, but we can go there later probably.
Okay, yeah, in terms of web development, the difference is how for a company or any individual that wants to just jump into China, is there any advice you could give them that will help them?
Hire local. Yeah, I think it's very difficult for foreign brands to enter into the Chinese market. It's even more difficult for brands to be created by foreigners here for the Chinese market. So very, very seldom do you see foreigners that are able to build brands and sell directly to the Chinese market here in China.
Teamwork.
Yeah, like generally what happens is that you would need to have an already existing brand, existing value, and then you would hire local team members that would translate that foreign brand into something that the Chinese audience would be interested in taking value from.
Okay.
Yeah, so hire local.
First and foremost, Wagon demonstrates two aspects of the 7 components during COVID. Their business was mostly focused on offline teaching of computer courses, data science, and helping people understand the value of coding. So during COVID, they pivoted from just being an online brand to offline and teaching and having seminars. This demonstrated 2 things. One, that they're flexible. Another is that they're a loyal brand. When they started their brand, their mission was to help people that don't have the skills to acquire these skills and have influence in other companies. So they demonstrate these 2 aspects of the 7 components that I previously spoke about. And that shows that they're a brand that has got brand strategy and is built to achieve their vision. So Wagon demonstrates the 7 components of brand strategy, and that's what makes them a good brand.
We're known as an offline bootcamp, and so what that means is that students will come to our campus, and our teachers will be here, our teaching assistants will be here, our staff will be here, and our students will all be here in one room. And of course, during COVID, that was impossible. So we couldn't do that, unfortunately, but we still had to survive. Yeah. And so in order to survive, we transitioned and pivoted a little bit away from that offline model to more of an online model, where we taught a lot of our events online. We actually had an entirely remote bootcamp, so that was online as well. So I think from a branding perspective, I think the challenge was how do you communicate that, although we're an offline bootcamp, we still have online options. Yeah. And so I think that was certainly a challenge over the last 7 months, but something that we've been doing pretty well at.
Okay, and do you think COVID has now awoken brands to be online? Because before, people kind of underestimated the value of online.
Yeah.
So what do you think has COVID changed the industry?
I think in terms of our industry, not necessarily it's changed things, but okay, more broadly, of course. I think, from Europe to the US to China, people are now turning to more digital e-commerce as a way of selling their products, right? Actually, in China, it's always been that way, but you can see that there's been an uptick recently as well. But especially in the US and in Europe, where you have like these entrenched brick and mortar stores, these are now turning more recently towards online e-commerce as like their main way of selling to customers. So totally, and I think that's been a trend. But I think a lot of people have been saying this, but I think COVID has certainly accelerated that trend recently.
Okay, if you're online, now you know why you should become a coder. The opportunity is now massive. Okay, and what's your vision for the brand?
For the Wagon, locally here in Shenzhen, I think one of the things that we're looking to do is we'd like to partner more with the local Chinese corporate entities that surround us here. What Shenzhen is interesting for is a couple different things. Number one, hardware, right? This is the hardware capital of the world. But more recently, it's been turning into a center for these multi-billion-dollar Chinese companies to be headquartered here. And so what I mean by that is you have Tencent now headquartered just across the street. You have Alibaba with a branch office here. You have Xiaomi now starting to have their headquarters here as well. Huawei is north of Shenzhen, so very close by. So you have all these like really large Chinese companies. But the problem with these large Chinese companies is that, one of the problems that they have is that they lack foreign talent. And these Chinese companies are looking to expand abroad, expand nationally, but they don't have the resources and the people to be able to do that or do that well. So what we're looking to do is we're looking to help to fill that space. So obviously one of our main goals here in Shenzhen is to be able to train the local population in web development and data science. But we also, that change your life mentality, we also want to make sure that we're focused on where we can really add value in this local ecosystem. And what we do is we take international talent, so generally they're either foreigners that are interested in studying these technical skills here in Shenzhen, or we take Chinese that have been educated abroad or have worked abroad for some time or are very fluent in English. They're able to take the program here with us. We train them, and then we're able to then place them in these larger companies, these larger Chinese tech companies, which they can add value to those companies and help them to then spread more internationally. That's generally, I think, what our more long-term focus is for the value of the locally here.
Now, every brand makes a promise, but in a marketplace where clients' confidence are extremely low and there are numerous brands that are bombarding the market, especially with social media, you need a defining purpose that will help you build your tribe and help define your vision in the long run. Remember, there are three aspects of starting a brand. There is purpose, mission, and vision, which we all know is the basis of life. By having a defined purpose, you'll be able to build your audience, your tribe, and eventually in the long run, build a strategy. It is the first amongst the 7, a purpose. Now, how does Wagon demonstrate this purpose? Well, they started out by teaching people how to code, but now they're growing towards something much bigger than themselves. Not only do they want to help people learn coding and other skills in the tech world, but they would like to train people and push them to go to companies and solve problems effectively. This is something that is very well respected of a brand. Not only are they serving B2C, but they're serving B2B. So by effectively doing this, Wagon are demonstrating their purpose. They're defining the world by using coding and other tech skills to build a better society, preparing the world for Industry 4.0, if I would say so. So Wagon demonstrates 4 components which I just mentioned, and they are doing it effectively. I would say they're demonstrating the 7, but today I just wanted to talk about 4 things that I think are really powerful about this brand. And if you would like to reach out to the brand and learn more coding skills, there's a link below and Alex's details are down. You can contact him, reach him, and learn about Wagon and be a part of this tribe that started out as just helping people code to having a profound impact on the world by making companies far much better in their coding skills and servicing, but because of the individuals that they bring. So Wagon demonstrates the 7 comprehensive components of a brand strategy, and that makes them, for me, a 10 out of 10 brand.
In general, though, I think the biggest message that I like to communicate is learning about tech and learning about coding, or learning about becoming a creative, whether it be about brand strategy, whether it be about design, or whether it be about web development, or potentially data science. Like, the idea of being able to create something is so fulfilling. I think before I only learned really coding myself 3 years ago, so I'm relatively new in this industry. But the change has been just incredible. Like, before I was doing this, before I was coding, I was mainly in sales and marketing. And these are fine, these professions and these roles, and I think a lot of people enjoy them. But for me personally, I always felt like something was missing. And I think it was the fact that I wasn't able to create in those roles. I wasn't able to create something that users were able to then touch and feel and use and provide feedback to me for. And so by learning how to code, or learning how to design, or learning how to become a creative, I think that it really fulfills an essential need that we humans have, which is to create. Yeah. And so whatever way that you go and do that, whether it's that you go and learn online, or whether that's you go to university for a computer science degree or a design degree, Like, just focus on building something. I think that's the coolest thing you can possibly do. Yeah.
So it was a pleasure doing our interview with Alex and learning about Wagon. I hope everybody got enough knowledge about branding and seeing how this brand is having a profound impact not only for the Chinese consumers, but their consumers globally. In the next few videos, we'll be talking about the 7 comprehensive components of a brand strategy. And we would like everybody to stay tuned, like, subscribe, and comment, because we're trying to educate people and help people see the true value of building a brand. It's not really easy, but if you have a solid strategy, you'll be able to build a solid foundation for your vision. So thanks to Wagon for giving us the opportunity, and everybody, like I said, should check the details below and contact Wagon if they would like to reach out. So we're giving air to the voice, and thank you. And if you would like to watch any of the videos, they're right there in the top corner, and you can see how we've been growing. So thanks for everybody who subscribed. My first 100 subscribers, I'm so grateful, and we're giving air to the voice. Keep watching for the next kinds of videos that are gonna come up. They're gonna be creative, innovative, you know. We're giving air to the voice, to all the entrepreneurs, innovators in Shenzhen, Shanghai, Beijing, and subsequently the world. So, 再见, and see you next time.